Doesn't seem like there's any crazy smogs and stuff yet. Let's see if it arrives in the next few days. And what was going on today? Apparently, I guess the internet went down around the world. Like this one says, massive outage disrupts internet services in Canada and around the world. Cloud computing company Akamai says problems has been fixed, but many sites still having issues. Apparently the issue was with the DNS system, which fundamentally means the internet service provider and so forth, like your connection doesn't know how to connect to the site because it doesn't know where it is. It's almost like completely losing the road, I guess you could say. But apparently what was fixed was kind of interesting with, I guess, pictures people posting. Like you can see here, everything's down. Makes you wonder how people would survive if the whole internet was down for a day nowadays. This was interesting to read from a tech achievement point of view. Apparently an AI was able to fly faster than a human, I guess, drone pilot. This one says, new algorithm flies drones faster than human racing pilots. For the first time, an autonomously flying quadcopter has outperformed 2 human pilots in a drone race. The success is based on a novel algorithm that was developed by researchers at the University of Zurich. It calculates time-optimal trajectories that fully consider the drone's limitations. They showed it going through obstacles and stuff like that, but they do talk about how this would be good in a practical sense too. It says to be useful, drones need to be quick. Because of their limited battery life, they must complete whatever task they have, searching for survivors on a disaster site, inspecting a building, delivering cargo, in the shortest possible time. And they may have to do it by going through a series of waypoints like windows, rooms, or specific locations to inspect. So it wouldn't be just for fun, as they say here, it would be actually for practical reasons, like for saving someone. Although with that in mind, when it comes to real life situations, there's just so many different factors that you can't actually prepare for in terms of, I guess, AI yet anyways. I know they said with things like autonomous cars, it works perfect, but then I guess the second it starts snowing one day or something like that, it'll lose all the lines, like where you're supposed to go. So will it be smart enough to do that as well, like with this drone, I guess? Because if you're going through a forest or whatever, if you're saving someone, there's like so many obstacles. A tree, a leaf can be blown here, a squirrel can jump out, like there's so much stuff. And this was actually fascinating to read. It made me wonder how this is actually going to work, if it can anyways. It deals with that Section 230 in the US, which is apparently supposed to protect things like a YouTube, a Twitter, a Facebook, in terms of them being sued or being held liable for what people say. But this one here says, senators target Section 230 to fight COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. As coronavirus cases rise in unvaccinated populations, Democratic senators are introducing a new bill Thursday that would strip away Facebook and other social media platforms' Section 230 liability shield if they amplify harmful public health misinformation. It says the Health Misinformation Act would create a carve-out in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, opening social media platforms like Facebook up to lawsuits for hosting some dangerous health misinformation. The bill directs the Health and Human Services Secretary to issue guidelines on what should be classified as, quote, health misinformation. And as they say, far too long, online platforms have not done enough to protect the health of Americans. These are some of the biggest, richest companies in the world, and they must do more to prevent the spread of deadly vaccine misinformation. The coronavirus pandemic has shown us how lethal misinformation can be, and it is our responsibility to take action. That's kind of the interesting thought. How do you determine what is accurate and misinformation? Because even during this time, I said it myself, the only thing that's 100% certain is that nobody knows 100% like what's going on and all that. Just like with the vaccine stuff, in the beginning here in Canada, they were saying, get everything that you can in terms of like AstraZeneca and all that. Then afterwards they flip-flop, like, oh no, like maybe you shouldn't. And then maybe you should get like things like mRNA vaccines. Or I guess the best example, just in terms of this whole virus and stuff like that. Remember all that conversation about where did the virus come from? And initially some people were saying maybe it came from a lab, but places like Facebook, they were actually blocking those types of conversations from going through. People said it was crazy, etc., etc. Now all of a sudden it seems like the world changed their mind. They're saying, okay, maybe it could have came from a lab, and so they allowed the conversation again. So like that's a classic example, I would say. How do you determine what is the quote misinformation? Because if you're wrong in the future, like I said, will there be repercussions of it as well? I don't know too much about the topic in general, but it reminds me of like, say, marijuana or something like that. I know in the past, virtually everything you read is it's a drug, it's dangerous, stay away and so forth. But nowadays, it's being legalized in so many places. They talk about benefits and all that. So it's kind of like that. How do you determine like what is the truth in that sense? Because in many situations, I would imagine you need the data. People basically sharing their experiences and so forth. And it should be up to, I guess, people themselves to actually have like a filter, put the facts together and determine what makes sense. Shouldn't that be the better way to do it? All right, see you guys later.